not the case. P1 throw curveballs constantly.
I wanted to make the curveball comment too because I wanted to keep going with the baseball analogy.
We're
since
insane.
we already kind of got onto that. Exactly, the synergy on point today. Hopefully for Counter Logic Gaming, they're going to get some synergy rolling of their own here in game number 2. But we're into picks and bans. Phase number 1, Elise and LeBlanc banned away by CLG. Phoenix1 going to go ahead and make sure Aframu is not on Thresh yet again.
Want to take away the playmaking from him. Last things that they had banned was Malzahar, Thresh, and Graves. Varus, LeBlanc, Elise. Elise, LeBlanc still taken away by Counter Logic Gaming. And the Varus was banned by Phoenix1. So do they pick up the Graves ban or do they go for it themselves as a first pick to possibly put Xmithie on something a little bit more comfortable, a little less CC?
See what they decide to go with here. 5-6 more seconds before they have to make that
go.
choice. There you go. You target ban the Olaf. Zyrene predicted it at the end of last game. When are they going to take away what works? And the answer is game number 2.
Yep. Take away the Olaf. When he played it against Counter Logic Gaming, and C9, he smashed them. He destroyed the Rengar jungle, and there wasn't really anything they could do about it. The Rengar was 3-0 back in the C9 game, and he still came up and beat him when he was 0-1.
Ash will be the final ban from Phoenix1. Want to make sure that CLG doesn't decide to pick that one up as their very first choice, or second or third choice, to be quite honest.
Well, it's kind of a pinch here because now Jhin is left in that god trinity of 80 carries, but you still have all these other things on the table. Ryze, Shen, you also have Malzahar is still on the table too.
So they're saying, look, you can pick Jhin if you really want him, but just remember, we're getting 2 other ones.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there is actually a decent amount up here, and I think you'll go for Jhin here as Phoenix1. You'll pick up one of those champions.
Darshan going to be on that Shen again this game, seeing if he can have a better performance than he did in game number 1. Zig going to go ahead, grab that Jhin, the remaining S-tier 80 carry, like you already said. We'll have to see what Phoenix1 wants to do as their second option, and they're going to lock in the Rengar for Meteos this time.
All right, so he's going to pick up the Rengar here. Not the same Rengar one trick that Inori was previously, so we'll see how he does on that champion. It's a little bit of a different suit for him as well. Meteos had previously played a decent amount of Kha'Zix and then also the Olaf. Interesting, because Orianna has been slowly sliding back into the meta, and I actually thought CLG's composition last game could have actually used an Orianna as their third pick for a full-on ball combo. That might be what Phoenix1 go for here, depending on mid-lane matchup.
I think Xmithie will pick up that Graves. Like you said, it's something he'll be a little bit more comfortable on. Yeah, you aren't going to have the CC element with him, but having Xmithie on something that he's like, hey, I can impact the game. I know my limits. I know what I'm going to be doing this whole time. I'm not going to make those errors that I committed last time with going into enemy territory when I shouldn't. That's going to be important. They also grab the Ezreal as their 80 carry.
Yeah, and right here, Phoenix1, I expect something like a Zyra or Malzahar support, but they want to go with the top lane and pick the tank. Just matching. All right, so it's non-risk. They don't want to get themselves banned out and forced off of tank top laners. Interesting, because now all those supports that are up, doesn't matter. Adrian will play whatever. And actually, you know what, reconsidering what I said, it's Adrian. He wants to play the Nami. He wants to play the Soraka. His champion pool that he trolled around about, and people were like, oh, is he serious? Where he's like, it's so deep. It's actually kind of true now that the meta has shifted multiple times. He has experience on a wide variety of champions that banning out Adrian isn't really possible.
The Nautilus versus the Shen in the top lane. History is going to repeat itself, at least in the matchup. CLG hoping that it doesn't repeat itself in the result, of course. Phase 2, the bans are starting, and the first one for Phoenix1 this time is going to be that Aurelion Soul instead of the second.
Yeah, if it's your given ban, then use your other bans as reactionary to what they ban.
Nami going to be removed by CLG.
Nope.
Don't want to have to be dealing with that this time around.
Maybe force the Soraka, and then you can take a playmaking support if you're Counter Logic Gaming.
We have talked about how Aframu is good on those playmaking supports. He's the kind of guy who can lead the team, call the shots, and set things up for success. Maybe that's what they want to do. Maybe that's going to be one of those big switches if they flip this game to change the strategy from game number 1.
Yeah, it's so interesting, too, because Phoenix1 banned the Malzahar out, which is what you would expect to be paired with the Graves for the point-and-click CC. And it means Phoenix1 don't really want to take that in their first pick, so...
Jace removed by CLG, not wanting to have to deal with that as the mid laner from Phoenix1. Now P1's got the choice. What are you going to pick up? You've still got to get your mid lane. You've still got to get your support.
Yeah, and there's still so much up. You can go for the Zyra on support. You can go for the Soraka and take it away from Afromu. There you go. Trading it back and forth.
Adrian going to be piloting that one this time around. You know that's a troll hover.
Do I? I don't know.
I mean,
don't tell me that.
I kind of feel bad because Stixxay used to always do the Warwick hover, but now that Warwick's a champion that might actually realistically be played in LCS, it doesn't have the same impact. It's a bummer, man.
Possibly Thresh, maybe?
You can hear the crowd cheering. They want to see that Blitzcrank get locked in, and honestly,
I mean,
I wouldn't mind seeing it either, but not today. Orianna locked in.
Yep, I thought that this should have been the pick instead of the Jace last time for Counter Logic Gaming to have a full combination and a mixed palette of damage. But now they pick it up so that Phoenix1 don't take it as their last pick, and they have the huge combination because this would be so deadly if you allowed the Orianna to go over to Phoenix1 because it's the ball combination, then Soraka Silence on top of the Shockwave, so there is no counterplay. There's literally no counterplay once it happens.
Yeah, the ring guard jumps in, the ball happens, everybody gets juxtaposed right in the middle of it, and all of a sudden you're on a silence field. You're just dead by the time anything ends. Afromu gonna be playing the Bard this time around.
Yep. A little bit of lack of hard CC here that's reliable for Counter Logic Gaming. The taunt is quite good. The Orianna will have to get the Shockwave out for Xmithie to blow up people, but that's a level 6 requirement. So the early game here from Xmithie, I expect some farming, and we'll see what he does to influence the lanes, because Afromu will have to be on point with the bindings.
Yeah, you can see some amazing setup plays coming out from Bard if the Tempered Fate and the bindings can find their way onto the right targets. That being said, Bard is also one of these champions where when things go wrong with him, they seem to go hilariously wrong. So CLG hoping that they go hilariously right instead. Syndra will be the final pick for Phoenix1.
And Phoenix1, if they win this match, that's 3-0 with Meteos so far. One of them against Cloud9, one of them against Counter Logic Gaming. And they're looking pretty good right now. They had a little bit of a slump that they were coming into. And then this seems to have turned it around a bit here.
And you also got to remember, if Phoenix1 wins this, that's going to set these guys' head-to-head record to even.
Yep.
It's not going to be CLG favored anymore. So then if we get to the end of the split and for some reason they're sitting on a tied record, it goes to a real tiebreaker. And
actually, well, I'll touch on this too, because once the tiebreakers are 1-1, it's then game record. And Phoenix1 have the second best game record in the league. TSM has too many 2-1 matches, so they actually played way more games and have more losses. Phoenix1 is 16-8 right now, 66% win rate, whereas a team like Cloud9, I believe they're at 68 instead of 66.
So
they're
it's
really
that close.
They're
It's
really
very, 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 very similar. So Phoenix1 definitely wanting to find their win here, put CLG in their place, make up for the loss they experienced to this team earlier on in the split. Like we mentioned, that series, 3 games. 1 game was very one-sided for CLG. 1 was very one-sided for Phoenix1. The last one, Phoenix1 was ahead, and then ultimately ends up throwing the game. CLG mounts a comeback, and that's how they find their victory. So this time around, Phoenix1 not looking to let that happen. They are the ones who want to be looking to make sure they lock this one away very clean. CLG coming out of the base. Everything might get interesting as there's a lot of pings coming out in the river.
Oh, very much so. Everybody's just rushing forward. No ghosts, of course, blown at the start. And to touch back on that game record I was talking about, Phoenix1 are 16-8 currently. Cloud9 is 17-8. So
that's real close.
The win here from Phoenix1 would put them tied in game record with Cloud9, who's number 1. Haven't played this week, so of course that number will change.
Right, of course.
But just showing that's how close they are. Whereas TSM, the second place or first place team tied, is 16-11.
Yeah, TSM having a few too many of those games go all the way to the 3rd match, so it hurts you in terms of that overall win-loss.
Which just goes to show how much Phoenix1 actually have dominant 2-0s, snowball games, and close them out. Even against C9, same story, the 2-0 sweep, the shutout there. So P1, when they're on, and they're looking like a playoff team. Like you said earlier, how far does it go, though? Is this a 2nd place, 1st place, 3rd place team? Still up in the air.
Yeah. And they're looking to make sure that that coin lands on heads by finding their 2-0 against CLG today. CLG in Phoenix1 territory with Darshan and Xmithie going to be scaring Zig away there. Zig popping the shield to make sure he's all right as Phoenix1. They're going to return the favor, move into enemy territory, and steal that red buff away. So it's just going to be a red for a red traded by both sides.
The question, though, is the enter into lane here from Phoenix1, because they could take this super dangerous route. I hate when this happens, but it's not going to end up being anything worse than a stun.
Nothing crazy at all. Red buff gets shot down. Smithy grabbing that one for himself. Going to be taking those chickens away as well. This time, it's totally safe to take the chickens.
Yep, it's completely safe to take the enemy chickens now. But yeah, when I was saying I hate when this happens, it's because that tri-brush, when you're coming back through it, the bottom lane was just helping out their jungler, but they kind of get destroyed by that because the enemy team has priority onto the bottom side. And look at this. Meteos just going to make himself travel across, go towards his blue buff, show himself completely through the lane. It's just like, I don't care that you know where I am. It's efficiency that counts.
I literally am more concerned with the 2 seconds I'm saving by walking through here than I am with you knowing where I'm at.
Exactly.
A bold statement. We'll have to see how well it works out for him. The CLG shoving up in the bottom lane. Xmithy moving into enemy territory, looking to maybe catch Meteos here. Xmithy's full HP and Meteos is below half. Afro Move going to be finding a lot of damage onto him. Ignite taken by the CLG support, who finds first blood.
First blood to Afro Move. Roams, gets those auto attacks on, and like I said, they have priority bottom. Part of it's the matchup, but also they had to give it up there. Because Phoenix1 helped Meteos leash that bottom side red, they had to go through an unsafe route. They end up behind in levels. Adrian has to walk all the way around, still level 1, and then they just have no pressure in the bottom side. So it's kind of all of a butterfly effect of what just happened to get
Man mode engaged. 1v1 Bard, still looking to make more plays. There's your setup. The binding going to be finding its mark. Xmithy looking for just a little more damage, and he's got it with the end of the line. Xmithy cashing in for that second kill for CLG.
And there you go. Afromove threw out the binding. It hits true, and it picks up the kill there, and that's what they need to get those kills on that Graves early on. It's honestly a requirement that you land those to get him in there and get those kills.
And as soon as I saw that Bard locked in, I said this champion can go so right if the skill shots are there.
Oh, and skill shot is there on Huhi.
Huhi gonna be jumped on, flashing away, TP channeled by Darshan to scare them off from doing anything else.
Yep.
And look at this! Afromove's going big game hunting again, just constantly going after this Rengar.
Well, there's no safe place for him. He can't really run. Adrian actually just going to pull the wave there and make sure that he saves it all for arrow and it doesn't hit the turret. And this right here, the way that Bard Q works is when it contacts, it actually checks immediately if there's anything behind the person, and that's what matters. So if you flash afterwards and the travel time of it going through you, it hit you, it's going through you and going to latch to the wall, that travel time does not matter. It doesn't give a damn about it. If there was a wall behind you when you flashed, it checked the wall,
stuck.
And you're stuck.
Meteos forced to flash away there. Meteos is looking this game a lot like Xmithy looked last game, where he's off to a slow start, and now he's kind of just running around like, what do I do?
Yeah, he got destroyed by the support there. Actually had a strange route because of the fact that there was a swapped invade. His bottom lane didn't get pressure, and then, of course, Meteos crossed mid, and the Graves like, I don't think you can do that against me. And went in, and Afro Move with the Ignite, which, you know, you take it in this matchup for the Soraka, came in handy on the Rengar.
Yeah, that paid off really big, grabbing that first blood for himself. CLG up to almost 1,000 gold lead 5 minutes into the match. Very, very similar to how Phoenix1 was feeling in game number 1. And the unorthodox Bard pick just doing so much work right now. Adrian and Arrow continuing to farm up well, staying even with their opponents in terms of that creep count so far, but they're spending a lot of time underneath the turret.
Yep. TP used top by Zig to get back. Darshan does not have his teleport. He used it in canceling mid Meteos. Of course, doing his Krugs, getting really low. He's not going to die to him.
Meteos still just kind of playing catch up at this point in time, walking around, getting as much EXP as he can. Going to be looking for the opportunity a little bit later on to maybe make some kind of a play, because right now, with the Graves being ahead, with how effective of a duelist he is, with the fact that he's almost level 6, it's a very scary proposition to try to make a play that you may end up in the same place as that Graves.
Yeah, and as the Rengar, you really want to rush the level 6. But the Graves is still ahead. Meteos took a back, and Graves about half a level up here, but also up in the fact that he has more items, that he's going to be able to actually bully him around, and he went for the Tracker's Knife again on Graves, so he's just looking to keep track of Meteos. Very common from Xmithy to actually go Tracker's Knife and look for the enemy jungle, and that's what he likes to do, is get the pressure that way.
Hey, it helps to be able to do extra damage to people, but sometimes you can just keep track of them. It does that much more.
Because then you get to dictate what happens. If your bottom lane knows that Meteos is on that side, they can start playing back in about 3 seconds when he shows, well, about the time that he would gank. and you go top, or you go for the counter gank. It's kind of useful in that sense. Sure, you have less in terms of combat, like you said, but if you play the macro, then you can play it out well.
Knowledge is power, man. Huhi hanging out in mid lane, staying blow for blow on these creeps with Ryu. Both of these two are going to have so much playmaking potential as they hit this level 6 marks, as they unlock those ultimate abilities. We've seen shockwaves turn entire games. For the people who watched SKT, KT, the magic shockwave by SKT when they were down almost 10,000 gold.
Oh, this right here, it's actually going to be a collapse from CLG. They're unknowingly actually getting themselves into a good spot.
P1 grabbing some decent damage onto Aframu there, but a good magical journey through the wall keeps him safe. And uh-oh.
Spaghetti-o.
Looks like we might have a little bit of a problemo here. Not quite sure why our screen has turned into this wonderful stepping
we're not
stone,
dead.
but we're going to figure out eventually what's going on. But for the time being, as Meteos, you said the best thing that you want to do on the Rengar, you want to hit the level 6, you want to go for the ultimate, and then you want to look for a play there. What is the call for Phoenix1 as a team right now to make things happen here, to get themselves into a good spot?
Well, they're trying clever things like we just saw where they're hiding out in the bush. That actually looked like Counterlogic Gaming was having Xmithy on that side, and then they had Aframu roaming up. So it was almost an unintentional pincer onto that bush, but Aframu took so much damage that he had to get out of there. And it looks like it's something for Meteos on his computer. Don't know exactly what happened, but we'll see.
Hopefully it's a short-term problem. You always hope that it's a 2-minute kind of a pause instead of a 20-minute kind of a pause.
Apparently his screen was alt-tabbing.
Ooh.
Which is honestly one of the worst things that could happen.
Yeah, that sounds really awful. You're just trying to play the game and it minimizes itself.
Yeah, only time that happens with me is when I'm oh hey, that's us.
Hey,
no, it's like
what's up, me?
well, the only time that happens with me is when I'm doing 2 screens, right? And it's like borderless. And sometimes the mouse goes onto the other screen.
And you click out of it.
And you're like, oh, well, what happened? And it just didn't register it there. But of course, they don't have 2 monitors on stage. But it's a very frustrating problem that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. You're just like, that kill would have been mine.
That would have been, I would have been able to do this. I would have been able to do that if my game was working
Don't think
properly.
you would have gotten the kill, but I do think that, it's one of the frustrating points.
Still something that you don't want to see happening to yourself. Hopefully they get that fixed as soon as they can. Looking at the items completed so far on these various players. Swiftness boots completed before anything else for the Jhin this time around, even before going for any of those lethality items. No Dirk or anything just yet, making sure he has that mobility to get himself out of situations.
Yeah, I actually talked to some Jhin mains, and they were saying, rushing boots is so good. That's why the boots for potion start is quite good as well. Because the Swifties, I mean, you can actually start dictating lane because you just naturally have more trading power on your 4th shot, and you can walk up, run away without any retaliation. And if you keep doing that in a lane that already has high trading potential with the Soraka, who covers all of your mistakes, then you're good to go. Just like right now. Hui!
We're back into the game. Huhi barely keeping himself in the game, staying alive through that burst from Ryu. Aframu looking to come in, make some kind of a play, but will not do so. Ryu getting himself back in time, but Huhi takes so much damage from that Syndra. Really going to have to be respecting that burst.
Yeah, got out of the pause, and apparently it's reported as user error. Meteos was hitting the keyboard too much and tapped himself. So,
we all have them, man. We all have them.
We've all been there. But so there was no actual issue. As we go back to the trading top lane, and yeah, Shen, he's going to win this once he has the Tiamat. And you can see Darshan goes for the Tiamat super early on because he didn't die in the matchup.
And he gets to use the bead.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to sell it.
He doesn't have to sell that one. He gets to put that one right into the blades. Don't know exactly how it ends up there in the Tiamat.
Yeah, I never really bothered to understand some of the recipes in this game. Like, some of them make sense. A lost chapter building into Morello. You have a page that turns into a book. That's right there. It's logical.
Yeah.
But then we also have a bunch of bow and arrows being made out of swords.
You never build a bow and arrow out of swords?
What about I learned how to do that one?
My favorite is take amplifying tomes, you put them together,
and you get a gun.
You get a gun.
I wish I...
Yeah. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power, yeah.
Stay in school.
Kids would want to read more if you could make these dope magical pistols out of their books.
Yeah, that'd be pretty dope. But still, item builds don't have to make sense.
They don't.
Video game.
That's the magical part of video games. Speaking of magical, a nice magic buff for both AP and AD going to be coming through for CLG. The same first Drake as last game, the first Drake this game, that Infernal, that buff that everybody wants so very much.
Yep, want it as soon as you can get it. Very early Drake take there, about 9-minute mark for Counterlogic Gaming.
With a big damage threat jungler like the Graves, along with having the big damage from your Orion and your Ezreal, they're going to get a lot of use out of that.
Oh yeah, and it's pretty much across the board. If they don't really have too much that the Shen will make of it, but he does have the Tiamat, which will turn into a Titanic Hydra eventually, one day. But you want to get tanky before you start actually investing in that item.
P1 still down about 700 or 800 gold. They've staunched the bleeding well from their early deficit against CLG. Top laners just trading blows back and forth here in that northern part of the map.
Yeah.
We talked about these two kind of at the start of the game when we were in Champion Select, and they are in an interesting spot.
Hold on. This looks like they're actually roaming mid. They're going to try to open up with the Jhin ultimate, I assume, and try to make a pick here. Meteos does have the ultimate. They're looking for Huhi, and we'll see.
Barriers exist to be broken. Can Ryu break any of those barriers right now? Xmithie might be in a spot to come around behind, make something work here. Everybody else from P1 kind of dispersing. Yep, they're just heading home.
Yeah, and that's good to do, is just keep roaming back and forth like that. CLG do actually do the right thing, take a back timer for Stixxay and also Afromu so that they can get back to their lanes, reset, have more items, and now you're going to see Arrow and Adrian, they're going to have to take it back. And it won't be a very favorable one for them. Large wave here will be caught by Stixxay. And they can stop Adrian, force him back, waste a few seconds. And so yeah, I definitely think CLG get a little bit better there for the roam that had been made by P1.
Yep, just a little bit of a rotational edge for him. True Shot Barrage fired off to stop that back again. And just by a few more of those valuable seconds, make it that much more of a pain for P1 to do what they need.
And he does it again. Adrian just didn't walk all the way back and go for this. So what's going to happen now, Counterlogic Gaming can push this all the way to the turret. They can bring Grave to the bottom side of the map. And this is going to be Arrow by himself underneath the turret for, I would say, about 15 seconds, maybe a little bit more.
And a Jhin by himself is one of the last champions in the game that you want to leave undefended. Very difficult for him to get out of situations that are difficult by nature, considering he's largely immobile.
Yeah, and so Graves still clearing out the Krugs. Xmithie doesn't go for the invade instead, or the dive. Right now, though, they're looking for Huhi in mid.
Flash away as soon as he hits that roar.
And Ghost.
And Ghost. Both summoner spells blown for that one. So even though they don't get the kill, taking both summoners down is going to be huge if they can come back and make a play in that window before they come back up.
Yeah, and that's the scary part, though. And I'm noticing this more and more from P1, is Arrow loves to roam towards mid to pop his ulti. Stixxay, though, has the Shen. Oh, can't get the Blast Cone.
Adrian locked up. Taunt comes through, trying to get himself away, but it's not going to do anything. Xmithie grabbing kill number 3 for his team.
Yep, couldn't get to the Blast Cone on the bottom side of it, so Adrian gets taunted up after the Stand United. That was an aggressive Stand United. That's the one that I like to see, where you make a play and you force it.
Curtain call opens up. Meteos coming in, looking to make some kind of a move here. Ryu wants to find some damage if he can, but not going to be making it happen just yet. Darshan going to be knocked up underneath the enemy turret. More damage coming through. Stun's not going to be finding anyone. Stixxay, now the target, going to be taken very low. Arrow still looking to find damage, but he's got to be careful. Huhi rotating over. True Shot Barrage only going to be making its way onto Zig. Very tanky, but also very low. P1 needs to be very mindful of exactly where they're at right here. The stun comes through. Darshan going to be JCC'd. A nice shockwave. A double kill for Darshan. Going to be losing his own life for it. But it's a 2 for 2. 2 for 1, excuse me. CLG coming out on top.
Huhi, big play there with the shockwave. That's exactly what they needed, because it was a few seconds, about 2 or 3 before Adrian was there. He pops the wish as a counter to the shockwave. It's still not enough, but if he had been there to kind of, first aid, apply the bandages, get people healed up, that shockwave would not have had the same impact there. You can see on the minimap, he's just so close. He's almost there. He's almost on the screen. There's the shockwave. Didn't have the time to actually just get to everybody and has to blow the ultimate there. And still the double kill for Darshan.
Nicely done by Huhi, making sure that they're able to walk away with the advantage in that fight. The 2 for 1, over 1,000 gold lead now. 1 minute until the next Infernal Drake spawns. And it looks like CLG is feeling pretty comfortable being able to set down some vision around this area and prep for it.
Exactly. They already have a lot of vision with the control wards on the blue side, or I guess it's always hard because you're like, CLG's blue side, but it's the blue side of P1's jungle. So the eastern side of the map.
Wording. Yeah.
I like to use directions, east, north, south, and west. And that's the eastern jungle right there, and they have complete control of it right by the Infernal Drake. And they have about half of this HP. Afro move, finding himself in a bit of a curious position. Oh, but here himself away with the magical journey.
Kuhi and Xmithy looking to make the moves if they can. Arrow stuck underneath the turret. What did I say about Jin being alone? You don't want him to be there, but Stixay, more than happy that he is, going to be grabbing that kill for himself. First turret of the game going to be dropping. Infernal's going to be the prize for it, and everything is coming up CLG.
Exactly. Arrow doesn't even use Flash there, decides to hold it. But there was just so many members here. P1 do not have control of their bottom side until now.
Xmithy, stand united, keeps him alive, just barely gets himself over the wall to safety.
Yeah, he's going to try to do this camp. Don't know if he's going to smite it or anything like that because the Infernal Drake is coming up. And I don't know if this goes over to CLG as definitively as we had just said a moment ago.
P1 has control over the area for the time being. Xmithy back up to about half HP, smite at the ready.
Darshan has TP. Darshan is already there. Zig is still top lane. This is so risky. I think P1 have to get rid of this. They have to go away.
There's no way. There's no way you're going to be able to fight that 4v5. You're down anyway. CLG's got a 3,000 gold lead after those kills and those turrets. Bird Call opens up, looking to make some kind of a fight if they can. Infernal Drake going to be secured. A very magical journey as Ryu's not going to be finding his stun just yet. Tempered Fate locks him down. True Shot Barrage comes out. Shockwave forces away the flash. And CLG with another success, but they do lose their top lane tier 1.
Yep, Zig ends up picking that one up with all the time that he was spending up there. He could have roamed down, but decides to go for the lane advantage. It is an Infernal Drake, which is high priority, but it seems like the call was, we'll try to get a kill, we'll try to get something here. But it's one of those, if it falls into our lap, we'll take it plays from P1. Whereas CLG, they did the right thing. They went for it. They forced them out and knew they had TP advantage in the first place with Darshan in attendance as well.
Darshan's pretty hard to kill right now. He's got the Spirit Visage completed, so he's going to be able to resist the magic damage coming out of both his lane opponent and the enemy mid lane.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because Arrow isn't really building lethality this game. This is the old school Essence Reaver.
Meteo's finding some damage onto Xmithy, but not a ton of it. Backed himself away, utilizing the heal from the Empowered Battle Roar.
Yeah, but this is going to be 2 turrets for P1 total, and they'll take a turret lead here off of the priority that they have on the bottom side of the map, and you can see the control wards they have in the southern part. So Arrow will pick this one up for himself, and it'll make the gold 1,000 between them.
Yep, P1's doing a good job, despite the fact that the game is 1-6 and the fights keep going the way of CLG. P1's doing a good job keeping themselves in the game, finding opportunity under any nook and cranny that it might be hiding, and keeping themselves relevant.
When you get to the highest level of League of Legends and you watch the professional play, you realize that the game is a lot like when you're fighting someone. The punches, when they're punching, there's always an opening somewhere because they're extending their arm. Where are you punching them back? And that's how you have to do it. Is you can't just, take the punch, right? You have to be able to. Okay, they're top side. We're going bottom side. You have to be like water and
bob and weave.
Exactly. You have to adjust to what they're doing and play around it. And that's why you see like some of the best teams on the international stage are the ones that can play defense so well and not lose as much when they go offensive.
We'll have to see if P1 can keep this up as CLG continues being the ones who seem on the aggressive. Always pushing up into enemy territory. Going to be removing some of those wards, setting down some of their own. They've got only 1 turret removed, but it is the mid lane tier 1, so it opens up a little bit of space here around the enemy jungle, allows them to step up a little bit further. Well, it's not the one in the middle, excuse me. I have no idea why I was looking at the map like that. It's the bottom lane tier 1 they were able to take down. Darshan walking himself away from Zig. Curtain Call opened up mid lane.
And here comes Meteos to the bottom side, looking for Darshan. He's got Flash still.
Darshan might look to get himself away, but he does not have the tools. Zig going to be grabbing that kill.
And that's complete bottom side control here. Sure, Stixay will do some damage to that top side. Meteos going to clear out the bottom. Red buff's about to come up as well. There's pings onto that. P1 have all moved themselves to the bottom side, and they are playing to bottom mid. And Stixay's going to have to push really hard. And look at that. He's going to try to clear out the mid wave. Deal some damage to it so it doesn't get pushed.
Ryu eats the True Shot Barrage. Arrow's going to be bound up. The damage is through, and Adrian's going to be taken down too, almost. Xmithy with 1 more auto attack makes it a double kill. Ryu looking to return the favor, find some damage onto Afromu if he can. Xmithy running himself out. Stand United going to be used, keeping him alive. Darshan into the fight. Zig is there, but very low on mana. Got to be careful about that one. Ryu still looking for targets, but Darshan is tanky. 1 for 2.
So they lose pressure on the bottom side on P1, and Counter Logic Gaming are able to push them away. Still have to be a little bit careful there. Meteos
Darshan wants this. Finds the taunt onto Meteos. The binding's not going to be making any sort of a stun, but doesn't even need to. The damage continues. Meteos trying to cleanse those slows. It's not enough, and Darshan grabs that one.
That's one of those times you go, did he have flash the whole time? Because he used it like right after everything. He didn't use it to dodge the taunt, didn't use it to get over a wall and escape. Used it to put himself a little bit further ahead. And we'll see, because it looks like it is a cooldown. Looks like he had it the whole time. Ryu does actually take a decent chunk there, and then Adrian has to. Oh man, Adrian has like nothing left in the tank. You can't heal people like that. He gets chunked out. The shockwave ends up blowing him up, so he has nothing to offer. And that was a really split fight by P1, but big props to CLG there for punishing that, because they were in a situation where their top side, they were pushing it in. They could just handshake and say, all right, bottom side, you go in, and we'll end up taking the top. But they forfeit mid in that point. So they had to make a play like that. So Huhi shockwave was very important, but I think Xmithy gave him a lot of criticism last game for the matchup he had against the Olaf and how he was playing it. In this game, he definitely punished Meteos early on his Rengar and made it so that we're looking at a 4-0 and 4 Graves. It's very scary with a black cleaver.
Xmithy is doing exactly what we wanted to see Xmithy do. We said this is the player on CLG that needs to step up. This is the player who's lagging a little bit behind when you compare it to the improvements that his teammates have made. And the difference between Game 1 Xmithy and Game 2 Xmithy can't be understated.
Yeah, on a much more comfortable champion for him, had the assistance in the early game. Afromu was able to put Meteos behind, and I think like overall, just looking at the members of CLG, Stixay, like he's adapted his build. Doesn't have boots yet as well, and the gold lead, which we had just seen a second ago, both Xmithy and Stixay are significantly ahead of their lane opponent in CS, in kills, assists, and so they're doing a really, really good job right now. And I also like the fact that Stixay bought the Executioner's Calling very early on to deal with the Soraka, and just didn't leave it up to the Morellonomicon, which comes into play once they have low HP. But this is consistent. And CLG, looking for a cross-map play here. Zig, no teleport. He's going to have to truck it here.
Zig can't work his way into the fight. Curtain Call going to be used, but it gets canceled out by the Tempered Fate. Baron going to be taken down to about half HP. Phoenix1 wants to stop this, but they got to be careful. The health bars are low. Ryu's going to be bursted. Adrian too. Darshan looking to find even more onto Arrow. Walking himself out, trying to stay alive. Darshan gonna be eating some damage. CLG's focus is split. They're able to find Baron Nashor, and now they turn back onto Phoenix1. Zig is the target, trying to find a way out of this one, but there's no way out today. Stixay grabbing the kill, and CLG has found an awesome bout of momentum.
Darshan running through, he's got home guard, he's looking for Arrow.
Can't quite find the taunt onto his mark, but he still does a lot of damage when he actually hits some Arrow, trying to get himself away. Afromu coming up with the wall, using the blast plant. Magical Journey set up into a spot, so Darshan's able to lock these guys down. There comes your taunt for the kill. I don't think I've ever seen that one before, but Meteos now one hit from death. Adrian nearby to keep him alive, going to be channeling those heals, but CLG is looking good in game number 2.
Yeah, they make all the right moves there. They get the Baron, they force it when they know the Zig doesn't have teleport, and then the fight starts up. And look at that, they caught Ryu again!
Ryu just deleted off the face of the world, inhibitor down in mid lane, and the CLG push continues.
Yeah, they're going to push here. They have Baron. They're going to say, you did it in 24:51? CLG, they're going to try to do better.
We're going to beat you even faster. Darshan locked up underneath that Nexus turret, getting himself out of the aggro for now.
We got him.
Xmithy with a nice shot. Nexus turret number 1 is history. Zig's going to be joining it now. Meteos jumps in, but all for nothing. Darshan very, very close to grabbing the kill on that one. Stixay is the one who goes on the rampage. Xmithy finally gets a death before the game ends. 23-20, CLG. Looks like they may be forced to retreat here. He's trying to bob and weave these bullets in between these guys, but CLG gets themselves out in a way that they don't sacrifice any lives to that. I don't think they're going to get the record time, but they are going to be close.
Nope, they're not going to get the record for the series. But this right here, they walk onto the ball. They didn't really have vision. They had to face check it, I guess. And they're just so desperate. I like the Bard play to actually interrupt the curtain call there, because that's the big deterrent that Arrow would have, and now he has to play at a much less effective range and be right up in the face of all these guys. Darshan as well punishes there and picks up a kill for himself after getting Ryu into taunt too. And then Zig walks forward, but the Baron's gone. And this is just insane. That crack that you heard right there, that's the Black Cleaver. The way that Black Cleaver works on Graves is it's actually a stack per bullet that hits the person. So he gets 6 stacks onto Zig after 2 shots. It shreds the armor.
Very, very powerful. And remember, that's not just for him. That helps the damage from his allies as well. The physical damage coming from the Shin, the physical damage coming from the Ezreal. They both get that much softer of a target to collide with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just really big.
Now CLG just has to finish this off, put the final nails in the coffin, win a game that should be completely free at this point. You've got a 10,000 gold advantage, 24 minutes into the game. Your Graves is 6-1-7, Steric's gauge completed.
He's hard to kill.
Very, very hard to kill, especially with the Bard and the Shen and everything else protecting him. Huhi also capable of those shields.
Yeah, I like what Counterlogic Gaming have done this game. The small little counters to what P1 are trying to do. Executioner's calling. Hold on, though. Ryu, he's looking for a pick there. And they're looking for a pick, too, from Zig and Meteos. They're going to have to forfeit this turret, and it looks like it's going to take a back for Meteos here because they're losing a little bit of their base.
Yeah, that turret fell a little bit too fast for Zig and Meteos to try to do anything about it. CLG continuing to push up, respecting the stun potential of Ryu, recognizing, hey, we're 10,000 gold ahead, but if somebody gets stunned and just instantly blown up, we're still going to have a problem on our hands. They're playing it slow, they're playing it steady.
Yeah, it's a 12,000 gold lead right now for Counterlogic Gaming. They want to close this out, bring us to a game 3 here. Both these teams, they seem to be able to play. He hit a blast cone.
Yeah.
He hit a blast cone.
Woo! All right.
Go for a ride.
Rengar ult.
It makes you leap, so.
It was something. Okay. Phoenix1 in a spot where it's do or die. And CLG is not looking like they're going to let him do much of anything. Zig going to be targeted first. Tempered Fate finds its way onto him. Stixay going to be eating the Syndra ultimate. Darshan making sure Zig is down. Ryu still trying to keep these guys off if he can, but Smithy is on the hunt. Meteos has already fallen. Arrow trying to fire off the bullets. What does it matter? Ladies and gentlemen, 26 minutes, and we're going to game number 3.
20-4 in kills. It looked a lot like the last game, but the other way around. Jungler punished early, turns into a bottom side dominant performance, and then it ends up going through the mid lane there. And everybody's stepping up again. These teams are at the level where if somebody makes a mistake really early in the game, they're just punishing them so hard, and then they just snowball from there. It's kind of like you look at these games and you understand the scrim culture from a long time ago where it was somebody gets killed early. It's like, man, that's GG. Because if they play perfectly, there should be no way that we win this game.
Right.
And that's kind of one of those games there where dies early, gets punished, snowballs into bottom lane. Now Arrow can't do anything. Now Smithy's crazy. So CLG, they actually did a really good job of punishing and then closing out. And that was really cool.
And after the game 1 performance by Phoenix1, I was thinking that's probably going to be the most one-sided game that we see. But apparently CLG was willing to call that bluff and say, look, we're going to beat them just as hard as they beat us, if not harder. And now we have a very interesting prospect on our hands for game number 3.
Yeah, those are very similar games. The game ended in, I believe it's about a 13,000 gold lead for Counterlogic Gaming. Other one, it was 15,000. So it's so close. And these two teams, it's whoever gets that small advantage, and then it snowballs the other way.
Both have shown that they have the ability to snowball the game and win like that. But for a deeper dive on how CLG tied this up and is taking things to game number 3, let's send it on over to Riven Azale.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And a 24-minute game, a 26-minute game. Yeah. They're just getting turned on their heads. And now we head to a game 3, but much cleaner from CLG. And Smithy looked much more comfortable. Awesome to see that he can just shake off that first game performance.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he almost always looks good on Graves, on the champions that he's good at. And we talked about it so much in the first game. Like, Smithy is a different player when he is comfortable, right? And when he is playing a champion that he is strong on, he always looked good on Kindred. He's always looked good on Graves, kind of the AD-type junglers, the marksman junglers. And it really did show this game.
And we saw in the team comps as well, they were even okay to say, hey, you know what? No Rengar this time. We'll even first pick Shen. You guys can have Rengar. And it seemed to get under the skin of P1 as well. Once he fell behind, Meteos couldn't have the same impact he had on Olaf. So CLG used that to their advantage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Meteos, almost it feels like he fell into the trap that CLG has been falling into. So you could just replay the last analyst segment, but just replace CLG with P1, right?
Tweak it just a little bit.
Change the names a little bit. But I mean, Medios at the same time, if he's not playing a lot, I do think that Rengar is a pretty different champion, and Medios has said he's not playing as much as he used to. He may not be as practiced on some of the meta champions. Things like Olaf, he's been playing for a long time, some of his really comfortable picks.
Yeah.
But especially since Rengar has recently been nerfed, I think if you're not very good at it, it's not actually better than the other junglers.
And we'll show our first replay coming in here, a CLG fight in the mid lane, 3-for-1. These got a little scrappy, but it did show P1 kind of overstaying and thinking they can get the better of these situations.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, they were already quite a bit behind. And the nice thing about that Bard ult from Aphromoo is that it's actually zoning 2 people off of Arrow, so they can push forward and actually get onto Arrow and be able to take him down very, very quickly. And, you know, I think a lot of credit has to go to Darshan this game, too, because Darshan is someone who had... It felt like he was always there. Basically, he's always there at the right time with the Shen ultimates, making the right roams down and stuff, and he did work very well with the team.
Absolutely. Him and Afro having some sweet plays towards the end of the game. Another replay at 21 minutes in where CLG took the Baron fight, and we were a little hesitant on this one because this is when you say, just use your power to fight, not bait yourself into a loss.
I mean, this is 21 minutes into the game. This is some of the greediest stuff I've ever seen. It works out for them. It's like, sweet, you're going for a 21-minute Baron, you're going to peel and fight. Instead, CLG's like, nah, let's just get the Baron and get the kills at the same time. And it was some really nice play. A lot of it's because of how well he did in this fight. The initial shockwave chunking people out, Aphromoo Bard ulting, the Jhin ultimate stopping that, and then Huhi and Smithy landing that combo, smashing them with the AoE after Darshan came with the wall on. So this was very well played from CLG, and although it was super greedy, it was actually really well executed, so they could get away with it. And CLG just looks so much better when they're playing the champions that they are comfortable on. I mean, Aphromoo on the Playmaker, he's playing Bard.
First blood juggle.
Exactly. I mean, it's like, not a lot of people are playing a champion like Bard, but who cares? It's good for him, so it's a good pick.
And then we got the next kill of that game going over to Graves, or for Smithy on Graves in the bot lane, which he continued to play good on. Player of the game going to him for that honor as we're really picking it up and kind of righting the ship for the first game performance and really helping out the team.
Yeah, I mean, great kill on the bot side. He's able to get ahead, and it just looked like a reversal of last game. Smithy was really able to take over. He was very effective. He was proactive. It felt like he had a plan for what he was doing the whole way through, and Medios felt a little bit lost. It really is just a reversal, of Game 1. Graves showing that it's a big pick for Smithy.
Yeah.
P1 banned it out in Game 1.
That's what
likely
I was
going to ban it out in Game 3, and CLG is going to have to show us something different.
How do you look at what happens to the mid lane now? Do you go after what Ryu does with anything? He's been double Syndra, which is somewhat carrying the fights, but then he's got a big champion pool anyway.
Yeah, see, that's the thing to me is Huhi and Ryu are both guys who can play so many different things. It's not worth throwing bans at them unless it's a specific bad matchup. Sure, if I want to play Ryze and I don't want to play any Cassio, then great, ban out Cassio. Something like that makes sense to me, but when you're just trying to target ban a specific player, those guys play too many champions.
And I believe looking at that player of the game, Smithy's first one coming in on that Graves to do so well for the team. So looking for him to do more coming to this next game. There's still the Kazakhs and what up there for the junglers, but we do see him reflecting back onto that. So maybe it's something P1 can look at. Looking at the top lane, Darshan has been getting this first pick Shen quite a bit. He did he did go back to some carries we saw in the last few weeks, but then back to the tanks because it seems that split push works for CLG so well.
It really does, and I think that Darshan, for a tank, Shen makes a lot more sense than even like the Maokai, even though he has been just playing well, period, in my opinion. I think Shen is really nice because he likes to take his advantages and give it to the rest of his team to get them ahead. Shen does that very well. So he was bullying out lane. He ends up a little bit down in farm, but he's the one showing up to the fight, getting the rest of his team ahead, making plays with the taunt flashes. So Shen works well for the team, and I also think it's the highest priority top laner on this patch with nerfs to Maokai and some of the other champions getting knocked down a bit. I think Shen works very well.
We've been seeing the Shen Nautilus. That's what Zig is. It's 2 matches of that now. We'll see if we get a third rematch of that top lane battle. So with CLG able to up the series, we will see if Phoenix1 can bounce back in Game 3. Don't go anywhere. The match concludes after the break.
Trevor, go.
Sit Nautilus. No. Sun.
I'm watching. I have ulti still.
I got their backline.
Okay.
Oh, I got not.
Didn't ult to me.
I have shield.
Kill.
Watch Syndra. Watch
Syndra
Syndra.
has nothing. You guys can end. If he doesn't do anything. Bring her flash.
Ulti J.
Got him.
Nice.
Watch in.
Jin.
End.
Don't let me die, guys.
Yeah, end.
Alright, we got it.
Good shit.
Nice.